Yesterday afternoon, during an executive order signing at Mar-a-Lago, because apparently the White House isn't good enough for official business anymore, Donald took questions from the press. Later that night, Fox State Television aired a stage pre-recorded joint interview with him and Elon from the Oval Office. Nice to know that he still knows where that is. The interview was short on substance, because of course. But one thing they really, 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 really wanted the country to know was that they're still a couple. Watch this.
President Trump and Elon Musk opening up about their working relationship as Democrats try to turn them against each other.
They want you two to start, they want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other.
Elon called me. He said, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. No, they said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock.
Become one of your best friends. He's working for free for you.
Well, I love the president. I just want to be clear about that.
I don't care about that.
I know. I love the president.
You love the president.
I think President Trump is a good man. The president's been so unfairly attacked in the media. It's really outrageous.
It's so unfair. Okay. Is this real? This cannot be real. I mean, sometimes I know that laughing, little levity makes a lot of this more bearable, but the degree of absurdity is not helpful. Okay. First of all, who's trying to tear them apart? They love each other. Who cares? You guys are so creepy. You're so deeply, deeply creepy. And you know that they don't understand concepts like love. So basically what they're saying is, you're incredibly useful to me right now, and I like it. Also, I misspoke. I said couple. No. Oh, the other thing too. Elon Musk is not president. Donald Trump is technically, but he's not acting like one. He's ceded all control, but Elon Musk isn't leading anything either. He's just taking the opportunity to steal and break a bunch of shit. He's a fledgling dictator, and as soon as it's convenient, Donald Trump will be set aside. But he's so useful right now and apparently entertaining. So let's be clear. Elon Musk is the minder, is the keeper of that deranged, demented man to his right. All right, before we dive in, please take a second to like and share this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And after you subscribe, click the bell icon. That way you will be alerted every time new episodes drop. Thanks for listening to the podcast, which is now available everywhere. Before we dive in further, please make sure to follow us and give us a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. At the press conference yesterday, Donald was asked about the difference between what he's been calling the worst of the worst when it comes to immigrants and undocumented workers, those who we were told would be identified and detained at Guantanamo Bay, and everybody else. Here's his response.
On immigration, sir, you said you would be sending the worst of the worst to Guantanamo Bay. What we're finding out is that there are a lot of low-risk migrants who don't have a criminal background who are also being sent. Are you thinking about this differently now?
No, they're going to be brought back to their countries. And with some persuasion, every one of those countries, every one of as you know, every country is taking the people back. So some of them are going to be brought back to, many of them, any of them that are low risk, as you say, are going to be brought back to their countries.
Good way not to answer the question. He's actually pretty good at that. And of course, there's never any follow-up. Yeah, he doesn't know the details of anything. So he speaks in these vagaries. And, or I should say, he speaks with vagueness. And it's very clear to me, as it should be to all of us, that when it comes to immigrants and undocumented workers, they will make no distinctions. They're going to get rid of all of them if they can. Because why do I think that? Because that's what they've been telling us. If only we were paying attention for the last 10 years. During the Oval Office interview, Donald gave his little Nazi border czar, Tom Homan, high marks for his work of terrorizing innocent people because he thinks that's cool. He also had a little bit to say about Kristi Noem, the LARPer, who actually is Secretary of Homeland Security, much to our collective chagrin. And apparently, she was on a horse. Watch this.
And we have a great guy, Tom Holman, and he is doing so incredibly. You saw the numbers, they're now like 96%.
95%.
He is a phenomenal guy. And Kristi Noem is doing an unbelievable job. And he wanted her. He said, she's so tough. And I said, I don't think of her as that way. You know, she's very nice. He said, no, she's so tough. And she is, I see, with the horses. She's riding the horse. Let's go. She's great.
Yeah. Tough. Rides horses. No, Donald thinks she's Mar-a-Lago hot, which is why she got the job. By the way, that is not something to aspire to. Okay. He's giving Homan high marks. However, in actuality, ICE agents are facing growing pressure to increase the number of arrests and deportations because Donald's very frustrated over the very low number, excuse me, of deportations in the first few weeks of the Trump regime. And it's being reported that he's downright angry about it, according to sources with knowledge of the discussions at the White House. But he's not going to say that publicly because that would mean he's wrong. That would mean that his pick, little Nazi Tom Homan, is not doing the job. I mean, he's making people's lives miserable and he's scaring people, so that's fun. But he's not getting enough people arrested and deported. And that, in Donald's eyes, makes him look bad because the only thing he understands is numbers. Like, I mean, I should say, like basic, like counting and how numbers get higher. And the higher a number is, especially if it has anything to do with your net worth, is the only way you know if you're a viable human being. So I want to get back. Well, I don't really want to get back to Elon Musk, but he is, like death and taxes, inevitable these days. There was a question yesterday that was asked in both the press conference in Mar-a-Lago and in that embarrassing joint sit-down interview at the assisted living center. Oval Office. And it was about whether or not Elon had conflicts of interest. If so, like on the off chance that there were any, what kind of oversight would there be, if any? Watch this from the press conference.
Mr. President, given your concerns about corruption, you said that if there were any conflicts of interest with Elon Musk, you wouldn't let him anywhere near it.
That's right.
Doge and SpaceX employees are now working directly at the Federal Aviation Administration and the Defense Department, agencies that have billions of dollars in contracts with Musk's companies or that directly regulate his companies. How is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, I mean, I'm just hearing about it, and if there is, and he told me before I told him, but obviously I will not let there be any conflict of interest. He's done an amazing job. They've revealed, in fact, he's going to be on tonight, a big show called Sean Hannity at 9 o'clock, and he's on and I'm on, and we talk about a lot of different things. And any conflicts, I told Elon, any conflicts, you can't have anything to do with that. So anything to do with possibly even space, we won't let Elon partake in that.
Yeah, way to plug your promo. I mean, your show. Like, that's like the only thing that matters to him. Ooh, what are the ratings? How many people watched? Let me mention this in my press conference so more people watch me self-destruct and have my brains melt out of my ears. That's fun. Okay, so the idea that Donald thinks he has any control over Elon Musk is actually quite amusing and terrifying, but it's also amusing because he has no control over anything. First of all, he basically is like, I don't know. Conflicts of interest? Am I getting rich? Okay, what conflict? But the idea, I mean, first of all, if he did know or care, the idea that he thinks that he could get Elon Musk to stop doing what he's doing is laughable at this point. So like Elon and Doge, which are personally responsible for defunding, restaffing, or even just shutting down every single department and presumably every single agency at this point, that had anything to do with investigating one of his companies. Where's where's the conflict? Um, I don't know. It looks like it's probably wearing a very bright striped red and orange sweater and could easily be found anywhere. But take a look at this.
It's a level playing field. He doesn't care what you do, which is very, he's told me that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't asked the president for anything ever.
And if it comes up, how will you handle it?
Well,
He won't be involved.
yeah, I'll recuse myself if it is.
If there's a conflict, he won't be involved. I mean, I wouldn't want that, and he won't want it.
Right, and obviously I'm getting a sort of a daily proctology exam here. You know, it's not like I'll be getting away from something in the dead of night.
Welcome to D.C. If you want a friend, get a dog.
Well, I do have a dog, but I also have friends.
Okay, wait. He has a dog. That should not be allowed. And also, Sean Hannity, like, what was that? First of all. And as for the proctology thing, Elon, you tried it once. It wasn't funny then. It's not funny now. And also, you're getting away with everything. So fuck off, quite honestly. He said in the first clip we showed you of that interview that he's not getting paid, which would be funny if it weren't so insulting. And like the whole idea that in this last clip, Elon said, Donald hasn't asked me for anything. Well, or I haven't asked Donald for anything, I should say. What do you need to ask for? He basically threw you the keys to the federal government. You're not getting paid. I mean, you're not getting paid above the table. That's for sure. But I'm pretty sure you're being handsomely compensated for your serious work of destroying America in this kindler, gentler regime where those two creatures make me sick, quite frankly. So, moving on. In that joint interview, Elon talked a little bit about things like competency and caring, which are two words to which he does not know the meaning. Sure, yes, Doge, illegal, unconstitutional agency that it is slashing government programs and agencies across the board without any strategy, without any game plan, and of course, without any thought to the consequences for actual human beings. Maybe that's why he doesn't get it, because I don't think he and Donald are actual human beings. But of course, this is all about saving money in a way that I'm sure to American people who can't feed themselves anymore because food is so expensive just makes them feel very cared about. Just think about all the money they saved on Air Force One. Watch this.
Amounts of money being spent abroad like USAID, and I just want to mention a couple, but I'm going to scroll it.
Well, I guess at a high level, I think it's what the president mentioned earlier, which is that in order to save taxpayer money, it comes down to two things: competence and caring. Right. And when the president was shown the outrageous bill for the new Air Force One, and then negotiated it down, if the president had not applied competence and caring, the price would have been 50% higher, literally 50% higher. The president cared, the president was competent, the price was not 50% higher as a result. And so when you add more competence and caring, you get a better deal for the American people.
Okay, I mean, I have a lot of adjectives in my arsenal to describe Donald Trump. Guess which two words are not on that list? Competence, competence. Mister, I declared bankruptcy 6 times and bankrupted 3 casinos in Atlantic City, and I can't spell my name anymore, and he's an idiot. He's a moron, and he's out of his fucking mind, right? So, he's not competent. He never has been competent. That, my friends, was a trick that was played on all of us. Caring. I'm trying to think of a synonym for caring that Musk might be mixing up here. But it is a little difficult for me to think that anybody would be so bold as to use that word in conjunction with Donald Trump, who hates everybody and lives to make people's lives miserable. Hmm. I feel cared about. Anyway, right now, Elon. Oh, quick thing though. This is important. He mentioned USAID, which kind of makes me angry. The budget for USAID was less than 1% of the entire federal budget. It was nothing. And how much did the great deal maker make getting that Air Force One renovation down? First of all, I think that's apocryphal. I don't think that happened. Like what was the brief? Not so much ketchup. Well, it saves on cleaning. Because I think he throws more ketchup than he consumes, and he consumes a lot of it. Anyway, right now, Musk is raking in, I don't know, about $8 million a day from taxpayers. I don't know about you guys. I don't think I could live on that, at least not to the, you know, way in which I've become accustomed. But I could probably manage. That seems like a reasonable sum of money per day. And when you consider that he only spent $277 million to buy the election on behalf of Donald Trump, that is what they call a very good return on your investment. ROI. So where is what's his name? He's vice president of the United States. He's Harry. Oh yeah, JD Vance. Sorry, I forget sometimes. He's been, he campaigned with Donald because he was ostensibly Donald's running mate. And of course, he's kind of nowhere to be seen. Donald has made it clear that JD Vance will not be his successor, although I think it's fair to remind you that he didn't name anybody as his successor. And who are we kidding? If there is a successor, it will be Elon Musk's successor at this point. So we're at a place where Donald is very proud to have chosen Elon to negate both of their jobs. Watch this clip.
He's good. I wanted to find somebody smarter than him. I searched all over. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
You really tried hard.
I couldn't find anyone smarter, right? So we had it for the country.
But this is the thing.
We settled on this.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh my God. Okay. He couldn't find anybody smarter because for Donald, what makes you smart is having money. And nobody has more money than Elon Musk. And the idea that he looked anywhere, also hysterical. Like Elon Musk really has this guy fooled. Donald actually thinks that he has any autonomy in this situation, which is fascinating. And again, a very clear indication that he's just not, there's no there anymore. I don't know how exactly they're keeping him together. Rubber bands, perhaps? I don't know. Anyway, there's this, if you've read Orwell's 1984, why bother? We're living it right now. There's this thing that he speaks about called doublespeak. So these guys keep saying that they have a mandate from the American people, which is to say that the fifth smallest percentage of people who voted for him in American history, who voted for the winning candidate, voted for Donald in 2024. So apparently the mandate that people voted for is to have Elon Musk and Donald Trump slash and gut federal programs and destroy the very government people elected Donald to lead, not Elon Musk. Well, let's watch the aforementioned unelected fledgling dictator expound on the subject of the unelected bureaucracy. And I'll ask you this, is he completely oblivious to the irony, or is he completely aware of it and such a sociopath that he experiences absolutely no shame? Watch this.
Look, what all we're really trying to do here is restore the will of the people through the president. And what we're finding is that there's an unelected bureaucracy. Speaking of unelected, there's a vast federal bureaucracy that is implacably opposed to the president and the cabinet. And you look at, say, DC voting, it's 92% Kamala. Okay, so we're 92% Kamala. That's a lot.
They don't like me here either.
I think about that number a lot. I'm like 92%. That's basically almost everyone.
Yeah.
And so, but how can you, if the will of the president is not implemented, and the president is representative of the people, that means the will of the people is not being implemented, and that means we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. And so, I think what we're seeing here is the sort of the thrashing of the bureaucracy as we try to restore democracy and the will of the people.
I am so glad we have a maths genius among us to explain that 92% is almost everybody. Who knew? Well, I'm enlightened. Okay, so let's start with the hypocrisy there. He's the unelected. I mean, he's not a bureaucrat. He's a destroyer of all things good, but he's unelected. Bureaucrats, civil servants, help run the government. As I've said many times, they're generally speaking nonpartisan. They make their careers out of helping people under the umbrella of the federal government and its many agencies, right? They're not partisan. So he's essentially maligning civil servants because in this regime, believing in the rule of law and the Constitution and democracy is anathema to them, and it feels like disloyalty, and it feels violent to them. Wait a minute, you're not totally cool with the fact that we're going to do whatever we want, even if it destroys your lives and your country? You must be our enemy then. He also said this bullshit about DC. Who cares who voted for whom in DC? DC is not like the citizens of DC do not run the federal government. I mean, that's absurd. Civil servants come from everywhere. Again, it's an honor to be chosen to serve in the federal government in some capacities. People travel for this, right? They travel because they make their lives doing that. It has nothing to do with the voting records of the citizens of Washington, D.C., which is just an absurdity. And either he knows that, and he's a liar, probably true, or he doesn't know that because he's not American and he didn't grow up understanding our system of governance. And then there's this thing, he said this before, and it is so egregious that I just want to stop here for a second and explain to Elon Musk, because I know he listens to me, that bureaucracy is not a form of government, you idiot. Bureaucracy is a mechanism by which we help to run our chosen form of government. Fascist regimes, as we're finding out, have bureaucracies. So, unfortunately, because those are big words, a lot of people will be fooled because of the ease with which he tells these lies. But again, between that and the fact that he had to point out that 92% is almost everybody, I am increasingly of the mind that he just might be stupider than Donald is. And holy shit, is that saying something? All right, in the ultimate case of gaslighting, I want to watch the two of these miscreants parrot every single action thrown back at them against their detractors. This is classic Donald. This is classic defense mechanism. This is projection. Check it out.
It's funny how often, when these attacks occur, the thing that they're accusing the administration of is what they are guilty of. They're saying that things are being done unconstitutional, but what they are doing is unconstitutional. They are guilty of the crime of which they accuse us.
That's always the first thing they do. He's in violation of the Constitution. They don't even know what they're talking.
What exactly are we, the Democrats who have absolutely no power, doing that's unconstitutional? Except trying desperately to exercise our constitutional rights? I guess that's unconstitutional now. So, you know, uh, we should be used to this by now. But I think it's like having both of them together is sort of this unbearable mockery of anything that is worth living for. So I shouldn't be laughing because that's actually true. Anyway, Donald isn't even sure who is in charge. And I know this is not a big deal, right? He's not even sure who's in charge of our nuclear arsenal. Oh, well. After Doge and Elon unceremoniously fired hundreds of experts from the National Nuclear Security Administration, they suddenly realized they'd made a mistake because, I don't know, I guess they thought, oh, people should be in charge of watching our nuclear arsenal. However, when they realized their mistake and wanted to hire those people back, they couldn't get in touch with them. Because there are many hallmarks of this regime: cruelty, fascism, very bad things. And something that's bad in its own way is just the staggering ineptitude of these people. They couldn't hire them back because they didn't have any contact information for them. Like, so you literally have people in these agencies who are still there, like calling around, "Hey, Joe, remember that guy in the other section who just got fired for no reason? I can't find his email or his phone number. Do you have it?" Like, that's what this country has been reduced to. I mean, we may as well still have the yellow pages at this point in terms of like how efficient this all is. This should be very concerning to somebody who is allegedly president of the United States, right? Watch this.
Mr. President, there was a big wave of probationary federal workers who were fired over the weekend. Some of these workers focused on nuclear weapon security were immediately rehired. Do you have any concerns about how these terminations?
No, not at all. I think we have to just do what we have to do. It's, you're gonna. It's amazing what's been found right now. It's amazing. If we feel that in some cases they'll fire people and then they'll put some people back, not all of them, because a lot of people were let go.
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do. It's amazing what we're finding. Oh my God, the fraud. It's so unfair. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Waste. How? What? Sir, I asked you about. Basically, he just doesn't answer the question. And I do not understand why somebody wasn't like, "Sir, I just want to know where the guys who are protecting our nuclear weapons are." Oh, I don't know. Cool. Anyway, probably not surprisingly, members of Congress have voiced their concerns about the NSA firings to the Energy Department. Okay. A source familiar with the situation told CNN that senators met with the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, to raise alarms about the budget cuts and presumably the insane firings of people protect our nuclear arsenal. Quote, Congress is alarmed because it seems that the DOE didn't fully understand that the NSA manages the nuclear stockpile. The nuclear deterrent is the foundation of U.S. security and stability. Any potential gaps, no matter how small, in maintaining that deterrent should be deeply concerning. Well, should it be? I mean, it's not like we have malign foreign actors paying attention to how we store our nuclear weapons, right? Okay, now, most people would just take a step back and reflect on their actions I'm sorry, I can't say this with a straight face because we're talking about Donald doing that, and that is just first of all, he can't course correct because, I mean, for mature people, that's what you do when you realize you're going in the wrong direction, you miscalculated, you need to recalibrate. For Donald, course correcting means admitting you're wrong, and he can never be wrong because, well, he's insane, but he's surrounded by yes men and sycophants who will never, ever tell him that he's doing something ill advised, perhaps. Or if you were to be so reckless to do that, you'd get fired, most likely, and also probably humiliated. So course correcting and reflecting on his actions are not two things that Donald does because this happened.
NBC News reporting tonight that the Trump administration accidentally, totally didn't mean to fire the people working on bird flu. No idea how that happened. Now the bird flu experts at USDA, they are trying to hire them back. The Washington Post reports tonight that the Trump administration is considering a plan to incinerate $500 million worth of COVID tests that you've already paid for. It's not because there's anything wrong with these COVID tests. It's just because, I guess, COVID tests, icky. $500 million worth of perfectly good COVID tests that we, the taxpayers, already purchased. What does this button do? Does anybody know what this button does? I thought I should ask because a minute ago, I just pushed it.
I think I'm sensing a theme. I mean, it's coming into focus slowly. Oh yeah, they're doing the same thing over and over and over again because they're so incompetent. Like blisteringly incompetent. And malicious. What possible reason could there be, seriously, for just destroying $500 million worth of COVID tests? I don't know if you guys know this. COVID is still a thing. There are still COVID outbreaks. There is still a booster shot that you can and should get immediately, right? You know what there's not a booster shot or vaccine for? Bird flu. So it seems, again, ill-advised to let it run rampant through the chicken population. One, because that's horrible for the chickens. I will not tell you how many tens of millions of chickens have had to be culled because of this horrific virus. But it's making everything more expensive, especially eggs, obviously. So I don't know. It just seems like that's something that a government should be paying attention to. The only thing that surprises me about all of this is that these guys didn't come up with a way to sell the COVID tests on eBay. So, as always happens, things take an even darker turn because, as I often say, there is no worst. And this was perhaps the most vile and ill-informed statement made by an American president in all of American history. And it happened at yesterday's press conference. Take a look.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. You have to equalize with Europe because Europe has given us given a very much smaller percentage than that. I think Europe has given 100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus. And it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it going? And I've never seen an accounting of it.
An accounting. Yes, we're doing accounting now instead of supporting our allies. Well, you know what? Ukraine's not our ally anymore. We don't deserve to be called Ukraine's ally. Donald, I like to help you out once in a while. Well, I don't really feel like helping you out at the moment. I feel like telling you that you are a fucking monster. You know nothing. And you cannot end this war. What you can do, because you are a monster, because you are a vile, unfeeling creature without empathy, you can hand much of Ukraine over to our erstwhile enemy, Russia, and open the floodgates to the destruction of Western democracy. Why? Because you care about nothing but money. And I just want you to think about this for a second. Just think about what a very small, frightened, pathetic little man that makes you. Moments before recording that, Donald did something truly awful. Again, there is no worst. Play the clip.
Also, breaking news we're tracking this afternoon. President Trump now escalating his criticism of Ukraine's President Zelensky, casting the wartime leader as a dictator in a social media post. Trump, in part, saying, quote, "Think of it, a modestly successful comedian, Volodymyr Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start." He goes on to say that Zelensky refuses to have elections, is very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast, or he's not going to have a country left.
That scathing post, and in many cases, is full of false statements, and it comes after Trump falsely accused Ukraine of starting the war with Russia yesterday.
Yes, says the spectacularly failed businessman who was elected to the extent that he was in 2016 because he fooled a lot of deeply ignorant people who just couldn't be bothered to vote for a ridiculously qualified woman. Yeah, almost everything in that statement was a lie, but it was also incendiary. It also sent up yet another signal flare to our soon-to-be former allies in Europe. If I were them, I would start acting accordingly. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.